Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, staring at the tactical display with worried eyes. The ship hummed quietly around him as they moved through deep space. His crew of 200 humans were heading home after a successful trade mission to the outer colonies. Everything should have been peaceful, but the distress signal changed everything. The signal came from the neutral zone, a dangerous area of space where no one dared to go. It was right on the edge of Zephyrian territory. The Zephyrians were an ancient race of insect-like aliens who had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They were known for three things: their advanced technology, their fierce territorial nature, and their complete hatred of all other species. Lieutenant Commander Amy Wells walked up to Morrison's side. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms and had studied the Zephyrians for years. Her face looked troubled as she held a data pad in her hands. "Captain, I've been analyzing the distress signal for the past 3 hours," she said quietly. "It's definitely Zephyrian, but something is very strange about it." Morrison turned to look at her. "What do you mean, strange?" Amy activated her data pad and played the signal. Strange clicking and buzzing sounds filled the bridge. The universal translator worked slowly, turning the alien words into English text on the screen. "Princess wounded," Amy read aloud. "Assistance required. Death approaches rapidly. Please, anyone who receives this message, help me." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew that the Zephyrians had never asked for help from anyone. They were proud warriors who would rather die than show weakness to other species. For them to send a distress signal was impossible. For them to ask for help was unthinkable. Chief Engineer Pete Collins came over from his station. He was an older man with gray hair and worried eyes. "Captain, this has to be a trap. The Zephyrians destroyed 3 human ships just last month. They shot first and never bothered to ask questions." Morrison nodded. He knew Pete was right to be cautious. The Zephyrians had been at war with humanity for over 50 years. It started when human explorers accidentally entered their space. Since then, any human ship that got too close to Zephyrian territory was destroyed without warning. Their weapons were far more advanced than anything humans had built. "Sir?" called out Communications Officer Ryan Torres from across the bridge. "I'm picking up more details from the signal. The transmission is coming from inside the neutral zone, about 6 hours away at maximum speed." Dr. Lisa Carter entered the bridge at that moment. She was the ship's chief medical officer and one of Morrison's most trusted advisors. Her face was pale as she carried her own datapad. "Captain, I need to speak with you," she said urgently. "I've been studying the biological markers in that distress signal." Morrison gestured for her to continue. "The signal contains biological data about the sender," Dr. Carter explained. "Whoever sent this message is dying. Their vital signs are failing rapidly. From what I can tell, they have maybe 12 hours left to live." Amy looked shocked. "A dying Zephyrian princess? How is that possible?" "Their biology is incredibly advanced. They can heal from almost any injury." Dr. Carter shook her head. "Not from this. The biological readings show some kind of foreign object in their system. Something that's preventing their natural healing abilities from working. Whatever it is, it's slowly killing them." Morrison walked to the main view screen and stared out at the stars. His mind was racing as he tried to decide what to do. On one hand, entering Zephyrian space would probably mean death for everyone on his ship. The Zephyrians had never shown mercy to humans before. Their queen, Visara the Eternal, was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most ruthless rulers who ever lived. On the other hand, someone was dying and asking for help. It went against everything Morrison believed in to ignore a distress call, even from an enemy. "Captain," Pete said quietly, "I know what you're thinking, but we have to consider the safety of our crew. We have families back on Earth who are counting on us to come home." "He's right, sir," added Ryan. "Our long-range sensors show at least 3 Zephyrian battlecruisers in the area. If they detect us, we won't stand a chance." Morrison continued to stare at the stars. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth. She was only 8 years old and believed her father was a hero who helped people in need. What would she think if she knew he had turned away from someone asking for help? "Amy," he said finally, "what do you know about Zephyrian royalty?" Amy consulted her datapad. "The royal family is at the top of their social structure. The queen has absolute power and her children are treated like living gods. If this really is a princess, she would be one of the most important beings in their entire civilization. And if we help her, Morrison asked. Unknown, sir. There's no record of anyone ever helping a member of the Zephyrian royal family. We have no idea how they would react. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Captain, whoever sent that signal is in terrible pain. The biological readings show extreme distress. They're suffering, and they're going to die alone out there if no one helps them. Morrison closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He thought about all the times in human history when people had to choose between safety and doing what was right. He thought about the doctors who risked their lives to help plague victims, the firefighters who ran into burning buildings to save strangers, and the soldiers who gave their lives to protect people they had never met. When he opened his eyes, his decision was made. Ryan set a course for the distress signal's location, he ordered. Maximum speed. Sir, are you sure about this? Pete asked. No, Morrison admitted. I'm not sure about anything. But I know we can't just fly away and let someone die when we might be able to help them. Alert all departments to prepare for possible combat. If we detect any Zephyrian warships, we jump to hyperspace immediately. Amy looked at him with admiration. Captain, this could change everything between our species. Or it could get us all killed, Pete muttered. Morrison smiled grimly. Well, Pete, I guess we're about to find out which one it is. The New Horizon changed course toward the neutral zone, carrying its crew toward a meeting that would change the course of galactic history. None of them knew what they would find when they reached the dying princess, but they were determined to try to help her, no matter what the cost might be. 6 hours later, the New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace in the neutral zone. Morrison stood on the bridge, watching as the main view screen showed them what they had come to find. A small alien ship floated in the darkness of space, and it was unlike anything the humans had ever seen before. The Zephyrian vessel looked more like a living creature than a machine. Its hull was dark green and seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Strange lights moved under its surface like blood flowing through veins. Parts of the hull were damaged, with glowing fluid leaking out into space like tears. My God, whispered Amy as she studied the readings from her instruments. The ship is alive. It's actually a living organism that's been grown rather than built. Pete checked his engineering displays and shook his head in amazement. I'm reading power levels that should be impossible for a ship that size. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Ryan suddenly looked up from his communication station with alarm. Captain, I'm detecting weapon systems powering up on the alien ship. They're targeting us. Morrison felt his heart skip a beat. The weapons that were now pointed at the New Horizon could slice through their hull like a knife through paper. Every human on the bridge held their breath and waited to die, but the weapons held their fire. Incoming transmission, Ryan reported with relief in his voice. The main view screen flickered and changed. The image of deep space was replaced by the interior of the alien ship. Morrison and his crew got their first look at a living member of Zephyrian royalty. Princess Zelith was beautiful in an alien way that was both fascinating and frightening. She stood about 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and a body covered in shimmering scales that changed color like an oil slick. Her head was elongated with large compound eyes that seemed to see everything at once. 2 antennae moved constantly on top of her head, sensing things that humans could not detect. But it was obvious that she was in terrible pain. Her movements were jerky and unnatural. Her breathing was labored, and one of her 4 arms hung uselessly at her side. Most disturbing of all, her usually bright scales had turned a dull gray color. Human vessel, she said in accented but clear English. You should not have come to this place. If my mother's fleets find you here, they will destroy you without hesitation. Morrison stepped forward to face the view screen. Your Highness, we received your distress signal. We're here to help you. The princess made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was filled with pain and bitterness. Help? No species has ever offered aid to the royal house of Zephyria. We are the hunters, not the hunted. We are feared throughout the galaxy, not helped. Dr. Carter moved to stand beside Morrison. Princess, I'm a doctor. I've studied the biological readings from your distress signal. You're badly injured. Will you allow me to examine you? Princess Zelith's compound eyes focused on Dr. Carter with an intensity that made the doctor's skin crawl. For a moment, nobody on the bridge dared to breathe. They all knew that the princess could order her ship's weapons to fire at any moment. You would risk your lives for someone you have never met, the princess asked slowly. Someone whose people have killed thousands of yours? Dr. Carter nodded without hesitation. Yes, that's what doctors do. We help people who are hurt, no matter who they are or where they come from. That's what humans do, Morrison added. We help each other. We help anyone who needs it. The princess stared at them for a long time. Her antennae moved back and forth as if she was trying to sense something about these strange humans. Finally, she spoke again. You are either very brave or very foolish. I am not certain which. Maybe both, Morrison admitted with a small smile. The princess seemed to consider this. I am dying, she said simply. My enemies used a weapon against me that my people cannot heal. If you truly wish to help, you may come aboard my vessel. But know that you do so at great risk. My ship's defenses are programmed to kill any non-Zephyrian who enters without my direct permission. Amy looked worried. Captain, this could be a trap. We know nothing about Zephyrian technology or biology. We could be walking into a death trap. Morrison looked at his senior officers. Pete was shaking his head, clearly thinking this was a bad idea. Ryan looked nervous but determined. Dr. Carter was already preparing her medical equipment. Princess, Morrison said, we'll need to bring medical equipment and a small team. Can your ship's defenses be programmed to allow a safe passage? Yes, she replied. I will transmit docking coordinates. But be warned, human captain. If you are planning to betray me, my ship will kill you before you can harm me. And if my mother discovers what has happened here, she will hunt down every member of your species. Understood, Morrison said. We're not here to harm you. We just want to help. The princess looked at him for another long moment. Your species continues to surprise me. Very well. I will allow you to dock, but only a small team. Too many life forms will trigger automatic defenses that I cannot override. The transmission ended and the bridge was quiet for a moment. Captain, Pete said, I really think this is a mistake. Everything we know about the Zephyrians says they're dangerous and unpredictable. Everything we know about them comes from battles and warfare, Morrison replied. We've never actually tried to talk to them before. Maybe it's time we did. Dr. Carter was already heading for the door. I'll prepare a medical team and gather our equipment. If that princess is as badly injured as I think she is, we don't have much time. Amy followed her. I'm coming too. Someone needs to document this first peaceful contact with Zephyrian royalty. Pete sighed and shook his head. Well, if you're all determined to get yourselves killed, I suppose I'd better come along to make sure our equipment works properly. Morrison smiled at his loyal crew. Ryan, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get the ship out of here immediately. Don't wait for us. Yes, sir, Ryan replied, though his voice showed he didn't like the idea of leaving his captain behind. 20 minutes later, a small shuttlecraft left the New Horizon and approached the alien vessel. Morrison piloted the shuttle while Dr. Carter, Amy, and Pete checked their equipment one more time. Look at that, Amy said, pointing at the alien ship. You can see where it's trying to heal itself. Those damaged areas are actually growing new hull material. The shuttle passed through a membrane-like opening in the alien ship's hull. Inside, they found themselves in a docking bay that looked more like the inside of a living creature than a mechanical chamber. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns and the air was warm and humid. Welcome to my vessel, came the princess's voice from hidden speakers. Follow the lighted path. Do not touch anything, or the ship may consider you a threat. The four humans walked carefully along a corridor that glowed with soft blue light. The walls around them seemed to breathe, and they could hear what sounded like a heartbeat echoing through the structure. Finally, they reached a large chamber where Princess Zelith was waiting for them. Up close, she was even more impressive and alien than she had appeared on the view screen. But it was also clear that she was dying. Her scales were now almost completely gray and she was leaning heavily against a wall for support. So, she said weakly, you actually came. I did not think your species had such courage. Dr. Carter immediately began scanning the princess with her medical equipment. What she saw in her readings made her gasp. Princess, what happened to you? These readings are unlike anything I've ever seen. The princess smiled sadly. I was betrayed by allies who wished to start a war between your people and mine. They used a weapon that ensures I will die slowly and in great pain. It is called a Vorthan pain crystal, and there is no known cure. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. Princess, we're going to do everything we can to help you. Why? She asked simply. Why would you risk so much for someone you do not know? Morrison looked into her alien eyes and saw something he had not expected to find there. Beyond the pain and the fear, he saw loneliness. This powerful alien princess was dying alone, far from her home and her people. Because it's the right thing to do, he said quietly. Because everyone deserves help when they're hurt. And because maybe it's time our two species learned to trust each other. The princess stared at him for a long moment. Then for the first time since they had met her, she smiled. Dr. Carter knelt beside Princess Zelith, carefully running her medical scanner over the alien's injured body. The readings on her equipment made her frown with concern. She had never seen anything like this before. Princess, can you show me exactly where you're injured? Dr. Carter asked gently. Princess Zelith used two of her forearms to point to her lower torso. There, embedded deep in her chest, was a crystal about the size of a human fist. It pulsed with a sickly red light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the princess's heartbeat. Around the crystal, her normally beautiful scales had turned black and were slowly spreading outward like an infection. This is a Vorthan pain crystal, the princess explained, her voice weak with exhaustion. The Vorthons are an ancient enemy of my people. They created this weapon specifically to cause maximum suffering, while preventing our natural healing abilities from working. Amy stepped closer to examine the crystal with her scientific instruments. The energy readings from this thing are incredible. It's like it's alive somehow. It is alive in a way, Princess Zelith confirmed. The crystal feeds on pain and grows stronger over time. The more I suffer, the more powerful it becomes. Eventually, it will consume my entire body and then spread to anything nearby. Pete looked worried. You mean it could spread to our ship? If I die while you are still here, yes, the princess said matter-of-factly. The crystal will seek out new sources of life energy to feed on. Your ship and everyone on it would be consumed within hours. Morrison felt his blood turn cold. He had brought his people here to help, but now he realized he might have doomed them all. Dr. Carter continued her scans, her face growing more concerned with each reading. Princess, this crystal isn't just causing you pain. It's slowly converting your cellular structure. It's turning your own body against you. Yes, Princess Zelith confirmed. I have perhaps 3 hours left before the conversion becomes irreversible. After that, I will become something monstrous, and the crystal will use my body as a weapon against anyone nearby. Amy looked up from her instruments. There has to be something we can do. Our medical technology might be different enough to help where Zephyrian medicine has failed. Dr. Carter studied her readings carefully. Something was bothering her about the way the crystal was affecting the princess's nervous system. She compared the alien biology to human physiology and made a surprising discovery. This is remarkable, she said quietly. Princess, your nervous system is more similar to human biology than I would have expected. The way the crystal is affecting your neural pathways, it's almost identical to how certain Earth toxins affect human nerve tissue. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez, Dr. Carter's surgical assistant, looked at the readings on his own scanner. Doctor, if the neural effects are similar, then maybe our counter-treatments could work too. Dr. Carter nodded slowly, an idea forming in her mind. Princess, human and Zephyrian biology might be more compatible than anyone has realized. We might be able to help you, but the procedure would be extremely dangerous. Explain, Princess Zelith said, hope flickering in her compound eyes. The crystal is using your own nervous system to maintain its hold on your body, Dr. Carter explained. Every time you feel pain, it sends that energy back into the crystal, making it stronger. It's a feedback loop that gets more powerful over time. That is correct, the princess confirmed. Zephyrian healers tried to break the loop, but our neural structure makes us too sensitive to the crystal's effects. Dr. Carter took a deep breath. What if we could temporarily redirect that feedback loop through a different nervous system? One that's similar enough to yours to handle the connection, but different enough to disrupt the crystal's hold? Morrison began to understand what she was suggesting. You want to create some kind of neural bridge between the princess and a human volunteer. Exactly, Dr. Carter said. We would need to establish a temporary connection between the princess's nervous system and that of a human volunteer. The volunteer would essentially share her pain while we extract the crystal. The human nervous system would act like a filter, absorbing and dispersing the psychic feedback that's keeping the crystal attached to her body. Pete looked horrified. That sounds incredibly dangerous. What would happen to the human volunteer? They would experience all of the princess's pain, Dr. Carter admitted. The feedback from the crystal could cause permanent neural damage or even death. But it's the only way I can think of to break the crystal's hold without killing the princess. Princess Zelith stared at the humans in amazement. You would ask one of your people to suffer this pain for me? The agony is beyond anything you can imagine. The pain would be intense, Dr. Carter confirmed. But humans have a different neural structure than Zephyrians. We might be able to handle the feedback in a way that your people cannot. It's risky, but it could work. Amy was already connecting her scientific equipment to Dr. Carter's medical scanners. The neural patterns are definitely compatible. The bridge connection should be possible with our technology. Morrison looked at his team and saw determination in their eyes. These people were willing to risk everything to save an alien princess they had never met before today. What do we need to do? Morrison asked. Dr. Carter began unpacking more medical equipment. First, we need to set up a neural bridge using our most advanced medical technology. Then we need a volunteer who is willing to share the princess's pain while we extract the crystal. I'll do it, Morrison said immediately. Captain, no, Pete protested. If something goes wrong, the ship needs you. The ship needs all of us to get home safely, Morrison replied. And the only way that happens is if we save the princess and prevent this crystal from spreading. Princess Zelith looked at Morrison with something that might have been respect. Human captain, you do not understand the level of pain involved. The crystal's energy is designed to cause suffering beyond the ability of most beings to endure. It could destroy your mind. Morrison met her gaze steadily. Princess, you've been enduring this pain for hours already. If you can handle it, then maybe I can too. You are either very brave or very stupid, the princess said with what might have been a smile. Like I said before, maybe both, Morrison replied. Dr. Carter and Sam began setting up the neural bridge equipment. The technology was experimental and had never been tested on humans, let alone used to create a connection between two different species. This is going to require precise timing, Dr. Carter explained as she worked. Once we establish the neural bridge, Morrison will begin experiencing the princess's pain immediately. We'll have maybe 10 minutes to extract the crystal before the feedback becomes too dangerous for either of them. Amy was monitoring the crystal's energy levels. The crystal is getting stronger. If we don't do this soon, it might become impossible to remove. Princess Zelith struggled to sit up straighter. Human captain, are you certain about this? Once the connection is made, there will be no way to disconnect until the crystal is removed or you are dead. Morrison was already lying down on the makeshift medical table that Sam had prepared. I'm certain, Princess. Let's do this. Dr. Carter attached neural connectors to both Morrison and Princess Zelith. The equipment hummed to life and displays showed the neural patterns of both beings. Initiating neural bridge in 3, 2, 1. The connection was established, and Morrison immediately screamed in agony as the crystal's malevolent energy flooded through his nervous system. But alongside the pain came something unexpected. He began to see flashes of the princess's memories and feel her emotions. Princess Zelith gasped as she experienced human thoughts and feelings for the first time. She felt Morrison's determination, his compassion, and his willingness to suffer for a complete stranger. Now, Sam, Dr. Carter ordered, begin the extraction. The most dangerous part of their mission was about to begin. The moment the neural bridge connected Morrison to Princess Zelith, his world exploded into agony beyond anything he had ever imagined. The Vorthan pain crystal sent waves of malevolent energy through his nervous system, bringing with it visions of cosmic horror and infinite suffering. It felt like his mind was being torn apart and rebuilt over and over again. But Morrison gritted his teeth and held on. Through the pain, he began to experience something incredible. He was seeing glimpses of Princess Zelith's memories, feeling her emotions and understanding her thoughts as if they were his own. He saw her childhood in the royal hives of Zephyria. He watched her learning the brutal lessons of survival and dominance that her species valued above all else. He felt her loneliness, the crushing isolation of being royalty in a culture that demanded strength and showed no mercy to weakness. But he also sensed something else that surprised him. Deep inside the princess was a curiosity about other species that went against everything her people believed. She had always wondered what it would be like to know beings who were different from her own kind. She had dreamed of friendship and connection, even though such thoughts were forbidden in Zephyrian society. Meanwhile, Princess Zelith was experiencing human emotions for the first time in her life. Through Morrison's mind, she felt his compassion, his genuine desire to help others even at great cost to himself. She experienced the bonds between the human crew members, their loyalty and friendship and willingness to sacrifice for each other. It was a revelation that shook her to her very core. Her people had always taught that other species were weak, that their emotions made them inferior. But what she was feeling through Morrison's mind was not weakness. It was a different kind of strength, a power that came from caring about others. "The connection is holding steady," Dr. Carter reported as she monitored both patients. "Morrison's neural patterns are actually helping to stabilize the princess's condition." Sam Rodriguez had his surgical instruments ready and was studying the crystal carefully. "The extraction has to be done in stages. If we try to remove it all at once, the feedback could kill them both." Amy was monitoring the crystal's energy levels on her scientific equipment. "The neural bridge is definitely weakening the crystal's hold. Its power output has dropped by 15% since the connection was established." Through the shared neural link, Morrison could feel what the crystal was doing to Princess Zelith's body. It was like a parasite, feeding on her life energy and converting her cells into something alien and horrible. But he could also sense that his human nervous system was acting like a filter, absorbing and dispersing some of the crystal's toxic energy. "Begin the first stage of extraction," Dr. Carter ordered. Sam carefully inserted his surgical tools around the edges of the crystal. The moment he made contact, both Morrison and Princess Zelith screamed in unison. The crystal fought back, sending massive pulses of psychic energy through the neural bridge. Morrison felt like his mind was being set on fire. Visions of destruction and chaos filled his thoughts. He saw alien worlds burning, entire civilizations being consumed by crystalline growths like the one embedded in the princess. The crystal was not just a weapon, it was part of a vast network of similar devices spread throughout the galaxy. But Morrison held on. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, about his crew who were depending on him, and about the princess who needed his help. His human stubbornness matched her royal determination, and together they resisted the crystal's attempts to maintain its hold. Through the connection, Princess Zelith experienced Morrison's memories of Earth. She saw blue skies and green forests, children playing in parks, families gathering for meals. She felt his love for his daughter and his pride in his crew. It was a way of life completely unlike anything in Zephyrian culture, and it fascinated her. "Second stage extraction beginning," Sam announced. This time the pain was even worse. The crystal began to pulse rapidly, sending tendrils of dark energy through both Morrison and the princess. Morrison could feel his strength beginning to fail, but the princess's memories gave him something to hold on to. He saw her secret rebellion against her mother's harsh rule. He felt her grief for the countless beings her people had killed in their wars of conquest. He experienced her deep shame at being part of a species that spread only fear and death throughout the galaxy. But he also felt her hope. Hidden deep in her mind was a dream of a different future, one where Zephyrians could learn to coexist with other species instead of dominating them. She had never shared this dream with anyone, knowing it would be seen as weakness or madness by her own people. "You're not alone," Morrison managed to whisper through the neural link. "There are others who dream of peace." Princess Zelith felt his sincerity and was amazed by it. Through his memories, she experienced humanity's long struggle to learn cooperation and understanding between different groups. She saw how humans had gradually moved from tribal warfare to global cooperation, how they had learned to see strength in diversity rather than uniformity. "Third stage extraction," Dr. Carter called out. "This is the critical moment." Sam began the delicate work of separating the crystal's deepest connections to the princess's nervous system. The crystal fought desperately, knowing it was about to lose its hold on its host. It sent out waves of pure malevolence, trying to destroy both Morrison and Princess Zelith rather than allow itself to be removed. Morrison felt his consciousness beginning to fragment under the assault. But just when he thought he could endure no more, he felt the princess's strength supporting him through the neural bridge. Her royal training, her lifetime of discipline and endurance, flowed into his mind and gave him the power to continue. Together, they held on as Sam worked to extract the crystal. The alien weapon writhed and pulsed, sending out final desperate bursts of energy, but the combined strength of human compassion and Zephyrian determination proved stronger than its malevolent power. "I've got it," Sam announced triumphantly. "The crystal is free." With a final pulse of dark energy, the Vorthon pain crystal was extracted from Princess Zelith's body. The moment it was separated from her nervous system, its glow began to fade, Sam quickly placed it in a containment unit that isolated it from any potential hosts. Both Morrison and Princess Zelith collapsed as the neural bridge was disconnected. For a moment, Dr. Carter feared they were both dead, but then Morrison's eyes opened and the princess began to breathe more easily. "Is it over?" Morrison asked weakly. "It's over," Dr. Carter confirmed with relief. "You did it. You both did it." Princess Zelith struggled to sit up. Already her scales were beginning to regain their natural color. The black infection around where the crystal had been embedded was fading, and her natural healing abilities were starting to work again. "Captain Morrison," she said softly, "I felt your thoughts and memories through our connection. Your species is not at all what my people believed." Morrison smiled weakly. "And your people aren't what we thought either, Princess. You're not the monsters we were told you were." Amy was already documenting everything that had happened. This neural bridge technique could revolutionize medical treatment for both our species. The compatibility between human and Zephyrian biology is remarkable. Pete was monitoring their communications equipment. "Captain, we need to get back to the ship soon. I'm detecting Zephyrian vessels approaching this area." Princess Zelith nodded. "My mother's fleets are coming to investigate why my ship has been silent for so long. You must leave immediately, or they will destroy your vessel without asking questions." Morrison tried to stand, but he was still weak from the ordeal. "Princess, what will you tell them about what happened here?" Princess Zelith looked at him with eyes that now held understanding instead of hostility. "I will tell them the truth, Captain. I will tell them that I have learned something important about the nature of strength and compassion." "Will they believe you?" The princess smiled, and for the first time it was a genuine expression of warmth rather than royal politeness. "They will have to. I am still a princess of Zephyria, and my word carries weight. But more importantly, I now understand that there might be a better way for our people to exist in this galaxy." As the humans prepared to leave, Princess Zelith made an unprecedented decision. She requested a direct communication link with Queen Visara herself. It was time for the most powerful ruler in the galaxy to learn what her daughter had discovered about the true nature of humanity. Back aboard the New Horizon, Morrison and his crew prepared for what might be their final moments. Princess Zelith had requested a direct communication with her mother, Queen Visara the Eternal, and Morrison knew that this conversation would determine whether they lived or died. The main view screen flickered to life, but instead of showing Princess Zelith, it displayed two figures. The princess stood beside the most terrifying being Morrison had ever seen. Queen Visara was enormous, easily twice the size of her daughter. Her carapace was deep black with veins of silver running through it. Her compound eyes glowed with an inner fire that spoke of intelligence beyond human understanding and power beyond human imagination. When the queen spoke, her voice resonated with barely controlled fury that made every human on the bridge take an involuntary step backward. "My daughter," Queen Visara's voice filled the bridge like thunder. "You have brought aliens into our sacred space. You have shared our weaknesses with potential enemies. You have violated every law of our people." Morrison could see Princess Zelith standing straighter than she had in hours. Her scales had regained much of their natural luster, and her movements were once again fluid and graceful. But there was something different about her now, something that had changed during their shared neural experience. "Mother," Princess Zelith replied with calm dignity, "I have discovered something more valuable than our weaknesses. I have found our potential allies." The queen's massive head turned toward the view screen, focusing her terrifying gaze directly on Morrison. When she spoke, her voice was filled with deadly menace. "Human captain, you have seen my daughter at her most vulnerable. You have knowledge of our biology and our technology that could be used against us. You have witnessed our weakness. Why should I not destroy your ship and everyone who sails in it?" Morrison felt the weight of 200 lives depending on his next words. Every human on his ship, every family back on Earth waiting for them to return home. He thought about his 8-year-old daughter and wondered if he would ever see her again. But he also thought about Princess Zelith, about the loneliness and hope he had felt through their neural connection. He thought about the dreams of peace she had hidden in her heart for so long. And he made his decision. Morrison stepped forward, ignoring the targeting lasers that immediately painted red dots on his chest. "Your Majesty, because your daughter is extraordinary and she deserves to live. Because the universe is vast enough for both our species to exist in peace. and because sometimes the strongest thing anyone can do is accept help when it's offered. The alien queen studied him for a long moment that seemed to last forever. Behind her, Morrison could see the bridge of a Zephyrian battlecruiser that was probably capable of destroying 100 ships like the New Horizon. You risk your lives for one who is not of your species, the queen said slowly. You sacrifice for one who cannot repay you. You show mercy to one whose people have shown you only warfare. This is unusual. Princess Zelith moved to stand where both her mother and Morrison could see her clearly. Mother, they call it humanity, and I believe it is something we have been missing in our civilization for far too long. Queen Visara's antennae moved in what Morrison was beginning to recognize as a sign of deep thought among the Zephyrians. Explain this concept of humanity to me, daughter. Through the neural bridge that saved my life, I experienced human emotions and memories, Princess Zelith explained. I felt their capacity for compassion, their willingness to sacrifice for strangers, their ability to find strength in cooperation rather than domination. The Queen's compound eyes focused on Morrison again. Is this true, human captain? Do your people truly value cooperation over conquest? Morrison chose his words carefully. Your Majesty, humans are not perfect. We have fought wars among ourselves for thousands of years. We have made many mistakes, but we have also learned that we are stronger when we work together than when we fight alone. Show me, the Queen commanded. Morrison looked confused. I'm sorry? Show me this cooperation you speak of. Prove to me that your species is capable of the unity you claim. Morrison realized what she was asking. He turned to his crew, the people who had followed him into danger without question. Amy, he said, why did you agree to come with us to help the princess? Amy stepped forward without hesitation. Because she needed help, and we were the only ones who could provide it. It didn't matter that she was our enemy. She was hurt and alone. Pete, Morrison continued, why did you support this mission even though you thought it was dangerous? Pete's gruff voice carried across the bridge. Because you needed me, Captain. Because the crew needed me. We don't leave our people behind, and we don't abandon those who need our help. Dr. Carter, why were you willing to attempt an untested medical procedure on an alien patient? Dr. Carter smiled. Because I took an oath to preserve life wherever I found it. Species doesn't matter when someone is dying. Queen Visara listened to each response, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke again. Your crew follows you not from fear, but from loyalty. They risk their lives not for conquest, but for compassion. This is indeed different from what I expected of your species. Princess Zelith stepped closer to the communication screen. Mother, I felt their emotions through the neural bridge. Their strength comes not from dominating others, but from lifting each other up. They are not weak. They are strong in a way we have never understood. The Queen was silent for nearly a full minute. When she finally spoke, her voice held a note that Morrison had not heard before. It might have been respect. Captain Morrison, you and your crew have shown honor in a situation where most beings would have shown only self-interest. You have risked everything for nothing more than the knowledge that it was the right thing to do. Morrison felt a glimmer of hope. Your Majesty, we believe that helping others is never a waste. Even if we gain nothing else, we gain the knowledge that we tried to do what was right. My daughter speaks of concepts that are foreign to our people, the Queen continued. Compassion, friendship, cooperation. She believes these are sources of strength rather than weakness. They are, Your Majesty, Morrison said with conviction. We've learned that we achieve more together than we ever could alone. Queen Visara turned to look at her daughter. Princess, do you truly believe that our people could learn these human concepts? Princess Zelith's response was immediate and heartfelt. Yes, Mother. I felt what it was like to be part of Captain Morrison's crew through our neural connection. I experienced their loyalty, their friendship, their willingness to sacrifice for each other. It was beautiful in a way that our culture has never allowed us to appreciate. The Queen contemplated this for another long moment. Finally, she made her decision. Captain Morrison, you and your crew have shown extraordinary courage and compassion. The Royal House of Zephyria does not forget such acts. You will be granted safe passage through our space for as long as you wish it. Morrison felt relief flood through him. But the Queen was not finished speaking. More than that, she continued, I find myself curious about these concepts my daughter has described. If your species truly has strength and cooperation, then perhaps our people have something to learn from each other. Princess Zelith looked amazed. Mother, are you suggesting an alliance? I am suggesting a beginning, Queen Visara replied. Captain Morrison, would your people be interested in establishing formal diplomatic relations with the Zephyrian Empire? Morrison could hardly believe what he was hearing. A few hours ago they had been enemies. Now the most powerful ruler in the galaxy was offering friendship. Your Majesty, I believe my government would be very interested in such discussions, but I should warn you that humans can be difficult to understand sometimes. We don't always agree with each other, and we ask a lot of questions. The Queen's antennae moved in what Morrison was learning to recognize as amusement. Princess Zelith has already warned me about human curiosity. She says it is both frustrating and refreshing. Princess Zelith smiled at Morrison through the view screen. Captain, thank you for showing me that strength comes in many forms. I hope that one day our peoples will stand together among the stars as friends rather than enemies. Morrison smiled back. I hope so too, Princess. I think the galaxy would be a better place if we could learn from each other. As the communication ended, Morrison realized that they had accomplished something that seemed impossible just hours earlier. They had turned enemies into potential allies through nothing more than compassion and courage. But their story was far from over. 6 months later, when the Vorthon Empire launched their invasion of human space, they expected easy victory over what they considered a weak and primitive species. Instead, they found human ships flying alongside Zephyrian biovessels, with Princess Zelith herself commanding a fleet of her people's most advanced warships. The alliance forged in a moment of desperate need had grown into something that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The Vorthons had counted on humanity's isolation. They had not counted on their capacity for friendship. They had not expected that the proud Zephyrians would fight alongside the species they had once considered inferior. The war was won not through superior firepower, but through the alliance.